Hello, everyone, and welcome to Honey Badger Radio. My name is Brian. I'm here with Allison, and this is Maintaining Frame number 138. Amy Schumer invented comedy and assaulting drunk men. Take that, incels. We're going to be looking at a section from an episode of the Call Her Daddy podcast, which is, and I'm just reiterating because I think this is crucial. It's crucial. The most popular podcast in the world on Spotify for women. Okay. And Spotify, I don't know if that's like the main place people listen to podcasts. It could be Apple, it could be Audible, but I feel like it's way up there because for men, the number one is usually either Joe Rogan's podcast or Tucker Carlson's podcast. So just to give you an idea of like how I guess men's and women's interests sort of diverge, and this is an example of that. And one thing I will say about the Call Her Daddy podcast is it's kind of a wellspring of content waiting to be responded to. And the best part is that Alex Cooper, the host of Call Her Daddy, she puts time codes in her videos. So I can just jump to a part and just say, oh, let's look at this. So yeah, I thought, this is almost like a professional thing that other people should be doing that have podcasts. So we're going to be looking at her podcast with Amy Schumer. You might know Amy Schumer as a comedian that she was a comedian allegedly. That actually changed the way that Netflix did allegedly. Reviews. No, this happened for real. Like she put out a show and it was poorly reviewed by people who had Netflix accounts, and they bombed it so much that Netflix decided they would change their rating system so that it wouldn't sting as much. So there you go. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, so basically her victimhood changed reviews on Netflix.
Yeah, in the same way that Brie Larson's changed reviews on Rotten Tomatoes. It's the same. Like they were like, okay, we're not going to do 5-star reviews anymore. We're going to do recommend or not recommend. And I think that they played that because it made her it favored her when they did it that way. And then that's just how they do it now, because you shouldn't bully millionaires by actually judging their content if you're not
having an opinion about it.
Yeah, unless of course you're an approved critic, in which case you can. But anyway.
Okay, all right. Doesn't seem like a great credit to your name. I have successfully destroyed an aspect of meritocracy, and
obviously
input.
The audience are uncultured swine that should not have an opinion, but they should consume my product.
Also, I don't think that Amy Schumer has ever made me laugh once. Maybe
I think like
awkwardly.
I will say once when she used to be part of the celebrity roasts, and I don't remember which one she was on, but she did give me a chuckle a couple of times.
Was it a sensible chuckle?
Yeah, it was yes, a sensible chuckle. But she wasn't like the funniest person there. That would have gone to Anthony Jeselnik, who is he was pretty funny. He's still funny. He has this dry delivery. He's kind of serious, and it helps that he looks like Hitler Youth a bit. I mean, he's just he looks funny to me. And so I think Anthony Jeselnik is pretty funny. But Amy Schumer didn't like him at all. So I guess that made her less funny. Yeah, I don't know why, but she just like, they weren't there to roast her. They were there to roast someone else. I don't remember who it was. It might have been like, I don't know, Mike Tyson or Flavor Flav. I can't remember. It was a long time ago. But yeah, I could tell she didn't like him at all. So that's weird, but anyway, so we're going to be looking at a section of this from this podcast where they're talking about how comedy like everywhere else on Earth, is a male-dominated industry.
Yeah, that's because
And
men are actually funny. The
yeah,
problem with women is that they need to cling to this self-righteousness, and self-righteous people are only to be laughed at, not with. Don't let go of that. Allow yourself to make mistakes. Stop trying to be the only one with the superior, the moral dominance in the room, and maybe you'll be funny. You know, fall flat on your face sometimes. Don't try to perform perfection all the time. But you
that's
know,
asking
like
too much.
what the hell do I know? I'm just a man.
Yeah.
According to Twitter feminists. Okay, and I just want to like, you know, the cat thing is, the cat's sick. We're trying to rehabilitate her, just because I know that there was at least one commentator who's upset about the cat situation. And as much as I can put her in the other room, it stresses her out, and she's already stressed and she's already feeling bad. So I'll do it if it gets too much, but until then, you're just gonna have to live with the cat situation, just like you've lived with the technical difficulties. So that's where I'm at. I just don't. I want her to get well. So, okay, and also, if you would like to support the show, if you would like more cats and technical difficulties, please go to feedthebadger.com/support. The monthly fundraiser is up. And I think it's really critical to support this kind of content because it's unique. We look at these issues without blaming men. And, you know, as I always say, I blame women and you can't stop me. So feedthebadger.com/support. And if you want to send a message, you want to say, get well, Mia, you can do so at feedthebadger.com/justthetip. It's the very best way to send us a tip, and put a message on it if you want. So feedthebadger.com/support.
Oh, you're dropped, Allison. I think the cat sabotaged your microphone. Still can't hear you.
All right.
Sorry, guys. All right, there we go.
Yeah, I've got she hit a wire. Unfortunately, this is the Mac microphone for now. But yeah, so feedthebadger.com/justthetip to send us a message and a tip, and feedthebadger.com/support to support the show. And if this happens again, Brian, just feel free to continue the show. Like, just respond to like super chows or super chat. The video. All right, you stop being so
okay,
aggressive.
I'm gonna hit play on this. Let's give it a listen. Here we go. Amy Schumer and Alex Cooper, host of the Call Her Daddy podcast. Totally not a government-funded CIA op disguised as a podcast for women. Let's go.
Wish I could like be a fly on the wall.
Oh, disgusting human beings.
Isn't it the best where you're like, no, I am a good person, but the shit I say with my husband.
Oh God. It's so, yeah. I mean, I think that's why we click so much. It's just the evil.
Yeah.
For the record, Amy Schumer recently actually got married to a guy. There was a guy that wanted to marry her. And I think the guy has he's got autism or something. So maybe he doesn't know when he's being like brutally verbally abused. I have no idea. But she is married and they're talking about that.
Or doesn't care.
Yeah, or he doesn't care. But I don't really know. I haven't looked into it too much. But Amy Schumer got married. And she's, you know, they're talking about that and what their relationship is like. And I guess it's basically them like shitting on other people. That's like how they bond.
What, her and her husband?
Yeah, her and her husband. Yeah. No, and they, I guess they cuss each other out sometimes. I don't know. Let's keep going though. I just wanted to let you know this is the context. They were just talking about how you know, she got married after she was done doing the celebrity roasts. And that's why it's not because she's a failed comedian that she hasn't been in the public eye. It's because she got married and settled down and decided to take a break from social media and all of that.
Lurking beneath.
Obviously, comedy is like such a male-dominated industry. Not to get too fucking deep here.
Well, whatever. They're all male-dominated industries.
Every single one. Yeah, we're talking about comedy today, but any other industry that you pick up, yes, it is male-dominated at all times.
Yes,
but yours happens to be.
Did you know
Maybe there's
that,
a reason for it. Maybe there's a reason for it. You know what else is also male-dominated? Holding your own sex to any kind of account. This actually really pisses me off. Like, feminists talk about how the existence of male criminals means something, and yet men put in place a justice system to control other men's behavior. They continue to enforce it. They continue to, imprison men who break the rules. And this is something that men created throughout history. Men created and staffed. And that's not like, sometimes men's willingness to police each other. You know what they call that? That's patriarchy hurts men too, right? It's men's willingness to police each other. Okay. So to put each other in jail, to hold each other to standards of merit, and not reward lackadaisical effort at the same time as being willing to exchange information so that they can unite and work together towards a common goal. Maybe these things are valuable. And maybe that's why a lot of industries are male dominated, because industries are about achieving goals.
Maybe.
Right?
Obviously there are industries that women dominate, but I guess those are not worthy of recognition.
Yeah,
so
teaching,
they just dismiss
nursing.
it. Yeah, teaching, nursing, right? And then there are some industries that should be female dominated that men still excel at, like female bodybuilding, female MMA,
Olympic sports,
the WNBA,
Ooh, burn.
Anyway, I know.
No, but it's like, this just occurred to me a couple days ago. I was thinking about this, and I'm like, well, you talk about things, this thing is male dominated. Maybe there's a reason for it. Maybe, these women would agree that there are differences between men and women as long as it's flattering to women. But that means there are differences between men and women. Maybe the things that men do actually are beneficial to getting things done, because they're like, it is about the nail. Men aren't just sitting there saying it's about talking about. No, they're saying it is about the nail, right? Maybe that mentality is beneficial to an organization that has a goal to achieve. Have you considered that?
Mm-hmm.
Right. And then the other thing is, maybe women don't want to go into those professions. If you actually look at the stats and you don't look at it through the feminist lens, the truth is that women who choose to go into work are sorted. There's something going on. There's a sorting mechanism going on, that they are more likely to end up in the C-suite than the more dangerous, dirty, and disgusting and uncomfortable jobs. So when men enter the workforce, they are sorted down while women are sorted up. The only reason why there are fewer women up is because there are fewer women going into the workforce at the same rate as men.
Men make the best chefs.
Oh, the classic misogynist. Okay, I will
Oliver Reed
end my rant.
Not misogynist. He's just based. All right, yeah. Let's. So anyway, yeah, all industries you can think of are male dominated. All right, let's keep going.
Comedy. So we're going to talk about the men in that industry.
Yes.
Did you ever have an experience like that was so obvious to you, where you were like,
what?
You did? Were you ever a victim?
Yeah. This is like the thing that I think women like legitimately get off on. The women who want to be told that they are powerless. There's got to be something almost Freudian about it, or sexual about it. But yeah, so she's going to ask her a question. Were you ever
like, wow, I'm literally not being taken as seriously because I don't have a dick?
I would say only every single day, all day, every moment of every single day.
I think that's a you problem.
Yeah,
only every day, all the time. By the way, Amy Schumer, probably a millionaire, sitting on a couch, talking to another millionaire on a podcast that's the most popular podcast in the world for women, talking about how hard her life is. Just put it in context. My life is hard. Okay.
What is the appeal of this crap?
I'm not a woman, Allison. I don't know. I don't know.
I don't get it.
Women eat this
I
stuff
am oppressed by the patriarchy. Beat that, ladies. Beat that. Amy Schumer, every second of the day, she's oppressed by the patriarchy. Even though she, like Brian's saying, she's a millionaire, she could probably afford another woman to do all the work in the home for her. I mean, and she's married to a man now. Does he oppress her?
You know, I met her once.
How he dares it. You met her once. Okay.
I met Amy Schumer. Yeah. It wasn't formal. Did I tell you the story of when I ran into Amy Schumer?
I think you did. But refresh us all. All
right. I was a lowly box office theater worker. And it was like a small little, like, you know, it was sort of like a musical theater where they do plays and musicals. And at the time there were no shows, but I still had to work the box office because they were preparing for a show and I would like sell the tickets on the phone. So I was like doing that while going to school. This was like when I was starting to do stuff for Honey Badger Radio too. So it was like I was doing 3 things. And Amy Schumer was premiering some movie she was in at a theater next to our theater. So my theater where I work, called the Mercury, it was like a live theater, like a playhouse theater. And her theater, the one she was at, was called the Music Box. And it was like this kind of small, but very like vintage theater, you know, really, really old. And it looked really cool. And they would do different premieres there. That was the place where you would go to see Rocky Horror Picture Show with a bunch of people all dressed up, you know, for that experience. And I remember I saw Bruce Campbell there once, he was premiering his film Bubba Hotep. And afterwards he went to the Irish pub to like hang out and drink and stuff. Anyway, Amy Schumer came in to my theater where I was at because she wanted to use the bathroom. Our conversation was brief. She was trying to avoid like her fans or something. So she went to this place that was dead to use the bathroom there. And she asked me, you know, where it was, and I knew who she was, but I didn't want to like make a scene, so I just played it cool, and I was like, "Oh yeah, it's right over here," or whatever. And she was very. I got a really like judgy vibe from her, like almost like I was like, you know, the last person she wanted to ask, because I was just this little like, you know, guy in the booth that was selling tickets. But yeah, I did have an experience with her, and I got like a very like elitist vibe from that. That's not an argument. I'm not making any claims, but that's what I felt. So none of this really surprised me. She was thinner back then too. She's kind of gotten a lot bigger since then. So, all right. Anyway, Allison, I can't hear her, so I'm just gonna play more.
No, I'm right here. I'm right here.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Come on, over there. Go eat. Yeah, that's well, she does sound like an elitist. I'm sure she's saying this not because it's actually true, but because it plays well, let's say.
Yeah. Well, for
I wish
sure.
someone could explain to me what the allure is in something like this. And not just that, it's just the hyperbole of it, like the exaggeration. Yeah, I'm oppressed by the patriarchy every second of every day, man. It's always got me under its thumb. I can't even sleep without the patriarchy squeezing me like a bug. Like, what is the appeal? What is the appeal of eternal victimhood? Explain it. Explain yourselves. All right.
Yeah. Okay.
Wow.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes. Yes.
It's so sad.
Mm-hmm. It is sad, and I would love to say something different, but the only thing to do is
sad.
You
sad. Want to do comedy, but be a victim of everything at the same time.
See, this is the problem with female comedians. Like any comedian, the first thing you have to be able to do is laugh at yourself. You have to. If you can't laugh at yourself, then you can't be funny. That's literally, I think, it's at the root of humor, is the ability to not take yourself so seriously. So how can you possibly be funny if you're taking yourself so seriously as a comedian? Like you just can't do it. You have to, and where that comes from is humility. You have to have the humility to be able to laugh at yourself and your own failings and your own imperfections and your own shortcomings
and your
and
own
your own
pain.
and your own pain in order to cope, and then you can see that in everything else, and then it's just like, so people like this can't be funny because they're too busy being offended or feeling like a victim. So
yeah, you get one or the other. You can either create comedy or offense. Like, and I mean, take offense. Sorry, you can either create humor or take offense.
Yeah, exactly. But you see, her thing is, and this is I see this a lot with a lot of female comedians, is they think that the jokes only go one way. So when they're trashing someone else, usually men, that's when they think they're their funniest, but they are not able to cope with it if it comes back the other way. It's just not in the cards for them. So
yeah. All right, let's finish this up.
Let's keep going.
How much did you acquire in this card? How many nuggets did you get?
There's a few things we could get into, but a lot of this is very, like, the comedian part is one, because it's about like how hard it is for women in essentially a job market. But there's other stuff about
wait, nothing's
mothers,
worked? Like,
and
all of the affirmative action put in place for women, the DEI, none of this has made it easier for you. You're still the most oppressed people ever.
Yes.
That's
right.
There's one. It's really funny because for the longest time I've looked at women and I've just been embarrassed. Just like ashamed.
Yeah.
And yeah, this is something that's plagued me for years. And I remember I went on a road trip with my father, and he said to me, you do the thing that all women do, is that you're searching for something in other women that you need to find in yourself. And I'm trying to hold on to that, but Amy Schumer makes it really fat fucking hard.
Yeah. Okay, let's do some more.
I mean, I don't want to say that femininity is worthless. I don't want to say it.
I think that it has a place.
But I have to now.
But women don't like, a lot of modern women, they are the ones that seem to frown on femininity, or they completely distort it. I got a super chat that I forgot to read. Albatross gave us $5 yesterday at 7 p.m. and said, why do progressive types froth at the mouth over Japan and Japanese culture so damn much? This was over a story we covered where the United Nations was trying to get Japan to change its policy of, or not policy, but their tradition of the heir of the imperial line always being male, and it has been since the Meiji period. And even though the emperor of Japan is really just like a ceremonial thing, they don't have any political power, but they have an emperor because it has a lot to do with their Shinto, religion and their tradition, and the Japanese identity, which is sort of like tied to an emperor, and they haven't had an empress in a very long time. And the UN is saying, it's the UN, like, women group or whatever was telling them that they should change it. It's like out of date now, and women can be emperors too, even like symbolic ones. I'm just giving the context for that super child. And Japan said nope and pulled funding from the United Nations, which is based as hell, if you ask me. And I think it's good because it means that Japan is saying, look, this isn't just a ceremonial position. This is symbolic for us. This is important that it be a man. And I think that is a good thing. So,
yeah.
But anyway.
Yeah, there should be things that, okay. We need to start recognizing that men bring something unique to things that they do, and start respecting it. But no, we'll just get more Amy Schumer. Keep going.
Yeah. All right. Let's do more Amy Schumer.
be in the highest position of power and call the shots, because the second you're in somebody else's, you know, I was almost gonna say ballroom. I'm like, I don't know, like, why are you in a ballroom? But
she wants to make a point and can't.
Okay, well, maybe she can find it if somebody puts some icing on it.
Oh, wow, Allison.
Well,
I would say too soon, but that doesn't make any sense. She's still alive. So yeah.
F's for the cupcake.
Yeah,
no, I'm saying
in the chat for the cupcake.
If you put some icing on the point, she might be able to find it. Is what I'm saying.
Yeah,
it has nothing to do with her being.
It's not about eating icing to find it. Like if you put it there.
Okay, we have killed this.
Okay, I'm gonna keep going.
The corpse of this joke.
Just, if you're not at the and even when you are at the top of the food chain,
which you are,
still, dude,
it's still impossible. It's not up on the food chain enough. That's what they have to like somehow. What the thing is, I'm gonna go back a little bit. They have to reckon with the fact that they're highly successful and wealthy people, but because they're women, there must be something wrong. So they have to complain about that at the same time. And speaking of food chain, but let's listen to more. I went back a little bit just so that we get the context of what she's saying.
But it's just, if you're not at the and even when you are at the top of the food chain, it's still, dude, it's crazy. It's there's no relief. And I've
what the hell is this fucking shit? When you're on the top of the food chain, you're still a victim as a woman. That's basically what she's saying. You still should see your world in terms of how men act on you rather than what you are capable of. And the other thing is, having gone through what I've gone through, I don't think you get the right to talk about any kind of shit, Schumer. You're not on a freaking alphabet watch list. You know, you haven't been kicked out of an entire freaking country or out of I don't keep coming back to this, but this is the point. She's not experienced the shit you experience, not even the shit that you experience if you're a woman advocating for men. I guarantee it. If she had, she wouldn't be fumbling over what specific actual oppression she's felt. Not things that she can manage to stretch her brain into taking offense over, like minor, what are they, microaggressions? Actual macroaggressions. She has none. Because she is a
macroaggression.
She is swimming with the current.
There's going to be more fat jokes, guys. I'm sorry. I know I have no business telling them, but I can laugh at myself, though.
She is swimming with the current. Right? She's not doing anything against it. That's why she has $1 million. That's why she probably can't point to anything, any place where she's been kicked out, any place where she's been silenced. Or at least not for long. Maybe places where she's been criticized, and then the entire company reworked everything to avoid her being criticized. I mean, that how can something like that happen to you, and you continue to say things like, "How I don't know. I can't." I mean, an entire company reworked its feedback mechanism so that you were protected. Oh, I can't even. I'm such a victim of this society. I'm like, how? How are you a victim? How are you a victim?
Maybe they'll go into it a bit. I mean, I think that what is happening now is she just makes the claim, and I love that Alex Cooper, the host, she just agrees with it. Like, no challenge, no questions. Just, oh, it's so terrible. Oh my God. How do you cope? And it's like, how do you know? Well, because like, where did this? I meant to do some digging into this person, by the way, that runs this podcast. I want to know at what point did USAID approach her and give her like $700,000 to start her. I just want to know when that happened. I'm sure it happened or something like it. But yeah, they're not even, there's no challenge. It's just presumed.
Can I just offer a counterpoint to USAID? At some point, we're going to have to solve this problem. We're going to have to solve the problem of nobody breeding because the relationship between men and women is broken, aside from certain communities of more orthodox people or more conservative people. Right. At some point, we're going to have to address it. And unfortunately, for the last, 2 decades, we've blamed men and that hasn't been working. So there's another tool in the toolbox that we haven't attempted. But we got to solve this problem. We can't just keep pumping this toxins in the atmosphere. Right. At some point, we got to address the fact that we've broken not just the relationship between men and women, but the productivity of Western economies by breaking the relationship between men and women. Right. At some point, we got to go move past Amy Schumer sitting on top of everybody, saying, I'm so oppressed. I'm so oppressed because there's the possibility that somebody could criticize me somewhere. And everybody who employs her says, oh my God, we have to protect our princess from the opinions of the plebes. And it's like, the more you put this out there, the more you destroy our future. At what point do you stop and realize, hey, we got a problem? Of course, there is no point, because it would require actually questioning the very foundation of our identities. And it takes a lot of chutzpah to do that. Okay. Let's keep going.
Let's keep going.
Have it different does not
at all.
And at no point ever. Yeah.
Ever.
There's like some Gloria Steinem quote.
Oh, I love her.
Yeah. It's like any woman who'd like.
Oh, I love her. Gloria Steinem, guys. Like, it's so predictable, but that's why I want you to see, like, no matter how much the more things change, the more they stay the same. Yes, the CIA asset, Gloria Steinem, and Ms. Magazine.
What does the CIA asset? What does the CIA have to tell us?
Let's listen. Okay.
And any woman that you think might have it different does not
at all.
And at no point ever. Yeah. There's like some Gloria Steinem quote.
Oh, I love her.
Yeah. It's like any woman who'd like, I'm going to butcher it, but like who decides to, live an interesting life or something will be treated as a cruel joke, and she'll need her sisterhood. And I'm sorry, because I butchered it, but
no, the concept, I get it.
And I wish it wasn't like that. And goddamn, I wish it wasn't like that.
No, it is like, I appreciate you saying that.
Yeah.
As sad as it is, you're like, every day.
I don't need the sisterhood. I don't need you. Fuck off. In fact, I've managed to keep moving forward despite being targeted by the sisterhood. So suck a dick.
I think that the purpose of these shows is to gaslight and propagandize women. That's why it's the #1 show for women. And and all you have to do is they basically talk in these abstracts to say, oh, my life is hard. And women are primed to feel like their life is hard already. And so they just say, oh my God, I relate. And then they quote Gloria Steinem at them. And some women will be like, who's that? And then they go look into it. This is what I'm saying. Like, this is engineered at women. And it's very effective. And when I look in the comments under here, everyone is in agreement because they're all women too, and they sprinkle in this stuff with other stuff that seems normal. So like I had to jump, because if I watch the whole thing, a lot of it is just like talking about stuff that girls like to talk about, like that are not feminist specific, but they're relatable. So women get sucked into that. It's like, oh, I've had friends like that. Oh, I've known men like that, whatever. And they use that. And then they sprinkle in the talking points, and then the women absorb that. It's like, I think women are generally, not all women, obviously, but they're generally more collectivist minded. So if a woman says, I have X experience, and I think that all women have X experience, even women who don't have that experience will convince themselves that they must have at some point because other women are claiming that they've had it. And that's how you essentially do what has been done, where you basically turn modern women against men. You just have to like convince them that actually you're being abused. Actually, you could be getting more. Actually, you could be happier, but men are preventing this from happening, right? You're not happy and it's their fault. And that's why I think that like this Call Her Daddy podcast, she has had on a number of feminist guests that are also celebrities. Like most recently, she had Chelsea Handler on. And I haven't watched it yet, but I guarantee you that if I look at it, there's going to be some point of it where, because Chelsea Handler was also like a comedian, there's going to be something in there about how terrible men are and how hard it is for women. And I mean, it's like it's the whole thing, you know?
Yeah. Well, I want to point something out. And I've done the research into this, and the propaganda that women have been subject to, and men as well, in terms of men, is almost identical to the propaganda that the Nazis projected against the Jews and segregationists, and anti-immigration against like the Irish and the Italians and all of that. Like it's identical to any kind of wartime propaganda projected against the enemy. And that's what the last 2 generations has been an entire society saturated with that kind of propaganda projected against men. And I mean, it took, I don't know how many years for the Germans to be saturated to it to the point where they could tolerate like mass aggression against groups of people, not just Jews, but also gypsies and other groups of people in Germany. But the same thing has been, women have been saturated in the same thing. And it's been promoted by the government. It's been promoted by NGOs. It's been promoted by the CIA. This is all like, and the receipts are there. This isn't a conspiracy theory. It's open. This has been promoted by academia, and it's hateful, hateful stuff. But the question I have is why?
Yep.
It's not just, why are we doing this? Why are we choosing this as our destructor? Like, to what end?
It works on women. It tells them what they want to believe. So I got a super chat, and then I want to respond to something that was in the vertical chat. Mnemonix gave us $5 and says, it's ironic that humor is in her name, but not her soul. That's funny. And Samir Rizvi said, I never heard of that podcast, nor have I heard people talk about it. I don't think it has any influence. Well, I have news for you, my friend. The Call Her Daddy podcast has been described as the second most popular podcast in the world, only behind the Joe Rogan Experience on Spotify. Posts on X have highlighted that it averages over 5 million listeners every week, and it's noted for having an audience size more than 3 times that of the New York Times most popular podcast. It is the most listened to podcast among women within the age group of 18 to 24. So it's not small. It has tremendous influence over women, half the population, and it's extremely impactful. They interviewed Kamala Harris when she was running for president. So you can say, I've never heard of it, but that doesn't mean shit because women are watching it, okay? And you should know what women are being told if you care about the state of our civilization right now. So yeah, the most popular in the world for women. Number 1, okay, after Joe Rogan. And Joe Rogan is more popular with men. So, you know, that gives you an idea of like what we're looking at. And if you look at what Joe Rogan's topics are, the kinds of guests he gets on, and then you look at the kinds of guests that this woman has, I mean, she got on like, you know, like Paris Hilton and what's her name? Nicole Richie. Like that's It's all just women talking about essentially like, you know, sex and with men and like cheating and hall passes. That's it. That's the show. Sorry. It's almost like women they don't go that deep. You know, they're not concerned about global geopolitics or the economy. They're not concerned. They're concerned with shit like, you know, how do you have a hall pass for your man? Have you ever gone on like a holiday to Jamaica and fucked 100 dudes? Like, that's what they're talking about. That's what it is. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Maybe you had a high opinion of women, but this is a reality check, okay? They don't have to think about those big things because it doesn't concern them. They just think about how they're victimized by everything while men are trying to figure out how to keep everything from falling apart.
And it certainly sells how victimized she is when she seems to be suppressing a grin. Have you, like, again, I've said this for years.
Mm-hmm.
Whenever these women talk about their victimization, they're always suppressing a grin. Believe me, when I talk about the situations that I've been in that are very traumatic, I'm not grinning. I'm not smiling. Or if I am, it's like a rictus of pain. And yet here we have, look at her. She looks,
I know.
It's just so
it's so hard.
It's so hard.
So hard.
It's so hard. Oh.
All right. I got a super chow from
why are women drawn to this mentality?
I do. There is something that I think is there might be something about the way that women how do I put it? It's like they're when they complain, they almost, I don't think they really want things to be fixed, but they do want to continue to complain. And so the way that they do it is like on this podcast, I suspect that Alex Cooper and Amy Schumer have no interest in solving any problems, but they want to talk about problems because I think women generally identify the negative in everything. So if you do something for a woman, and even though she should be grateful, she will find the thing that she doesn't like about what you did and highlight that. And I think that there's something evolutionary about it. Like, women have evolved to nag. So I mean, I know it sounds cruel, but what I'm saying is I think that there was a utility for that, right? Like, and women just want to feel safe more than anything else. And I think that when they are completely liberated, that comes with risk. And so they tend to feel unsafe because they're liberated, and they're, because men can't, like, I don't know, have authority over them, so they can't really secure them. And so women complain about that. And it's like they don't want it to be fixed, though, because if they have nothing to complain about, it'll drive them crazy. I mean, I don't know. Like, I'm a man, I'm on the outside trying to understand, but that's what I suspect, is that they've evolved to nag. And maybe that's why we have religion. Okay, so Xerix gave us $5 and says, interesting tidbit about Chelsea Handler. Her older brother died when she was younger. Patrick Bet David covered it some time ago. She was very close to her brother, and he went for a hike and said he'd see her later. He didn't come back alive. I don't doubt her being influenced by feminism. However, I think Chelsea's case is more psychological. Yeah, well, I mean, she's still a tool of the establishment in that, she basically spits out the talking points. But thank you for the super chow, Zering.
All right, so a Norwegian says, when people go through traumatic events, laugh or grin, it's because the situation is so insane you have to laugh at it. Does she look like she's having a laugh at the trauma that she has? Or does she look like she's actually engaging in conning people? Because that's the thing. Duper's Delight doesn't look the same as somebody who's trying to get through a traumatic event. It doesn't. She doesn't look, the trauma isn't there. The trauma isn't there. All that's there is the contempt and the amusement over getting one over on another human being. That's what I see. But, let's keep going.
All right. Let's keep going.
of my fucking life.
Like I want to be
bitch.
like, one time a promoter, but I'm like, no, every second of every day, every set, everything.
And how sad that like
maybe it's because you suck.
She probably walked around with a chip on her shoulder and just presumes that every set, every club owner, every agent, every deal is somehow, like taking something from her or not taking her seriously. It's definitely a you problem. I mean, like, you couldn't possibly believe that every single interaction that involves men is just impacting you negatively because you married a guy. Like, does he just like take it up the ass? Like, do you peg him every night? Is that the only reason why you married him? Or are you lying to us right now? And that you've actually had plenty of pleasant interactions with men?
No, Brian, there's no pleasant interactions with men in Amy Schumer's life. None whatsoever. Not even the guy that she had sex with while he was almost passed out drunk and passing in and out of consciousness.
Not even when I told her, not even when I told her where the bathroom was so that she wouldn't piss herself. I was obviously subverting somehow. All right.
In these privileged positions. And I'm like, wow, like I'm like a privileged white woman and I fucking feel it all the time. Like,
everyone just thinks that women at any point might lose it and they're just waiting for you. And so every day it's like memento. You have to like start over and remind everyone that you're in your position for a reason every day. Every day.
Oh God.
And this, if you say this in a world that hates women's women and women's victimhood, in a world that doesn't want to help women, if I started to talk about how oppressed I am as a woman, if I started to rubber stamp this crap, you would see the algorithm starting to favor the content. You would see the alphabet agencies saying, oh, hey, maybe we can strike a deal with her. And the viewership going up. And yet she has the audacity to say that no one cares. If nobody in our society cared, they wouldn't reward you for constantly nagging and presenting this, and framing women as victims who need to be saved. If our society didn't want to save women, they wouldn't reward women framing themselves as victims who need to be saved. Right? That's what's so infuriating about this. This is the shallowest, stupidest, most flimsy lie ever. And yet people still buy into it. And women still buy it.
Because they want to. They want this to be true. Like, women operate, they believe that their strength is their appearance of weakness, right? So they want people to underestimate them, because I think the female fantasy is like, I don't know, like getting away
I just want
with.
to say that this is like, we're really getting slammed in terms of our viewership for this. This is interesting.
What do you mean slammed? Well, like we have a lot of people watching, or not?
No,
lot of people watching?
Not a lot of people.
Oh yeah,
unusually
I see that.
low amount of people. Somehow.
Well, on the mainstream, on the horizontal, it looks like all right, but yeah, the vertical is not reaching a lot of people,
which is unusual.
That's because it's hump day. But,
yeah, it could be hump day. It could also be because, and you have verified it, we are slammed in the algorithm, and we have alphabet agencies that do have an interest in reducing the scope of our content. Yeah. And this is a very popular narrative. It's a very popular narrative to turn women into guilt dispensers. And yeah. But anyway, let's keep going. Let's finish this off.
Let's keep going.
And I just want to say this, since you asked. Every year, you're in like a chain, like a WhatsApp chat or a text chain with the other moms in class. I mean, with the other parents.
Okay. But she's a parent.
They designate.
She might be. I don't. I watched this whole thing, but it was a while ago. Yeah, I guess she is a mom now or something. Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's sad. But yeah, let's finish this.
Class moms, you know, they go like, and they haven't changed it to be PC. They haven't made it to class parents.
Okay, it's class mom.
It's class moms, because the moms are the ones handling shit and communicating, and we text and whatever. And then once in a while, like a dad will pop in there, and we'll be like, "Rick, are you lost?" You know, like the moms we're like getting things done,
right?
And
isn't that funny? So she says it's always moms because, you know, men don't want to do anything. But then she says sometimes a man will show up and we'll basically drive him off.
You know, it's really hilarious. It would be like a man saying, you know, it's always men barbecuing. And then, I don't know, some woman comes up and he says, why don't you just go over there and make a sandwich? You see, it's always us men taking care of the barbecuing. Yeah, Susan, just go over there and make salad. You know, like, you're literally answering your own question. You are telling a man to get lost when you say, are you lost? And then you're asking yourself, well, why aren't men part of this doing this? Because you are telling them to get lost. Are you that dumb? Like, how do you exist as a human being that incapable of connecting your actions to their immediate consequences? You're right. You live in memento. You got some kind of mental illness that's breaking the connection there, the connection of causality. Okay, let's keep going.
All right.
And I just like think, like, I want people at home to imagine, like imagine if your dad one year was in charge of planning your birthday party.
I wouldn't have had one.
No, okay? Your dad is like, I'm going to handle it this year, okay? Any dad is like, I got it. And or anything, or planned anything. They like communicate, they can't. And I think this is, and men are in charge of the world.
It's terrifying.
The world. And that's why we're.
It's terrifying. Oh my God.
I hate women.
And men can't organize anything, and they run the world. And
oh my God, can you
what
imagine?
Does that tell you, Amy? Doesn't that tell you that we can run everything? Like, does it tell you that you're not paying attention? Maybe this is why I'm saying, like, this is the most popular podcast in the world for women. The most popular podcast in the world. This is why women are disconnected from reality, and they're so safe. They're so safe that they can make these ridiculous claims like somehow, even though everything is somehow running properly because men are doing it without women's input or knowledge, that means that it's barely like getting by. Like we're just, we're on the brink of devastation.
Can I point something out to everyone? When even more men were in charge, we were a civilization that was starting to move towards the stars. Not really doing that anymore, are we? Now we're just moving towards increasing levels of self-absorption.
Yep.
I'm just... I don't know what to say. Like, oh, men, it's so frightening that men are the ones who control the world. You know, there's a quote in Heart of Darkness. I wish I could, you know what? Let's listen to a bit more and then I'll tell you guys that quote because I got to find it.
All right. Let's listen to some more.
We're in so many wars. I think that it's not even on purpose. I think probably these men were probably just trying to plan a birthday party.
No. Isn't that hilarious?
Listen to this.
Amy Schumer tells jokes. What are you doing?
Right. I'm finding the quote. All right. Marlowe says at one point, it's queer how out of touch with truth women are. They live in a world of their own and there has never been anything like it. It's too beautiful altogether. And if they were to set it up, it would go to pieces before the first sunset. And that's not the entirety of it, because he goes on. Oh yes, this is the rest of it. Some confounded fact we men have been living contentedly with since the dawn of creation would start up and knock the whole thing over. And of course, we got all the feminists screeding about that. But as far as I can tell, he was absolutely right. For some reason, women think that a world completely absent of all evil is possible. And if it doesn't manifest itself, it's because men want to oppress them. Not because there are criminal elements as a result of genetic factors, abuse factors, and other kinds of stuff like that. And simply, a lot of these men and women just want to do it. No, it's because men haven't Jesused enough and gotten rid of all the criminals. And it's like this, the guy who wrote Heart of Darkness, Joseph Conrad, 100% right. And that's actually a very optimistic view of women. Because what I've noticed now is not only do women think that the world could be absolutely perfect, as he identified, they now are convinced that it isn't because men are doing something evil purposefully. They don't realize that they're living in a retarded utopia that can never exist. And men aren't keeping it away from them. Men are actually doing the best they can with what they've got. And that's never accepted. That never accepted. So it's moved into another level of cancerous bullshit. It's gone from, oh, hey, there's this utopian world that would somehow manifest itself, to it would manifest itself if men weren't so satanic.
Yeah.
It's women are not serious people. At least the women who watch this podcast and are a part of it.
Yep. All right. So yeah, men started wars because they were trying to plan a birthday party.
Not funny. They're still not funny. And maybe it's because they can't grasp truths.
Well, do they? Okay, I think that Alex Cooper is genuinely laughing at this joke because it is at the expense of men. And I think that women do take, not all, but there was a joke? I think a lot of women. Yeah, the joke was that Amy Schumer is saying, I think the reason why men started so many wars was because they were just trying to plan a birthday party. So they're so bad at planning things that they accidentally start wars, Allison. Isn't that hilarious?
So they're so bad at planning a birthday party, they manage
to accidentally start wars.
No. But they manage to prosecute a war which requires the logistical management of millions. Okay. That's an interesting flex there.
Yeah. Well,
to answer the question, if my father planned my birthday party, he'd probably just ask me, hey, is there a particular restaurant you'd want to go to? And that would be the end of it. Why does it have to be more complicated than that? Fucking loathe parties.
Yeah.
I'm just not a party person. Okay, let's keep going.
All right, let's keep going.
Right? Someone quote that. That's gonna be like on the internet. No, you're right.
You know what I'm saying?
No, it's so true, and it's really. I appreciate you saying this because I was gonna ask you that today because obviously, like the state of our world, we don't need to get into it because it's like we would be here for 19 hours and we would start crying. Yeah, right. Literally kill ourselves.
We would have a suicide
pact. But I think, especially as women, it's interesting because I've had people ask me like advice, and in some capacity, I try as fucking hard as I can, but I'm also like I mentioned earlier, we're privileged. And on top of that, like it literally hasn't gotten that much better. If anything, it's like people do it like sneakier around me.
Oh God. So I have privilege, but I'm also oppressed. It's like you can be simultaneously better than other people, but also still having it worse. It's almost like the only dynamic that matters is men. Okay. And of course, they can't talk about the world because it's so hard. It's so bad. It's so awful. When did this come out again? Let me just check. 2 weeks ago? Yeah. Things were bad for you guys. All right. Anyway.
But I'm still experienced like misogynistic fucks that are like essentially criticizing me for XYZ.
Right.
Or saying stuff about like, oh, if she ever talked about sex, then she's just like forever a whore. Like I feel like at one point people really tried.
Oh.
Bitch, your content is if I ever talk about sex, I'm getting called a whore. I thought this was something you're supposed to like. Let's look. The Hamptons confessional, catfishing, polyamory, cheating, fame. This is your content. I'm just going through some titles, okay? Rob's Love Island, Tell All, al dente dicks and faking dirty talk. What? Gossip Girl, house parties, dating disasters. I went to couples therapy. Like, ugh.
Well,
this
well,
is
I mean,
your
a lot of
content.
the stuff. I mean, some of the stuff is pretty mediocre, but or just mild. But yeah, there's a lot of whorish content. Sorry, lady.
I mean, this is like her brand, though. Like, women want to watch this.
Nobody called Dr. Ruth a whore because she talked about sex.
Like, I think the tamest one is the Kamala Harris one.
I think there's more to it. I think there's more to it than that. Than you're just talking about sex.
Katy Perry. She had Katy Perry on.
Oh.
Narcissists,
okay, so we're not canceling
blowjobs and red flags. No.
So we're not canceling Katy Perry for her sticky fingers, like her roving fingers.
Katy Perry had roving fingers.
Yes. Well, she sexually assaults people.
Katy Perry does. Amy Schumer does too. Yeah. So what's the difference?
I guess what does it matter, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
so what?
After all, if a man says no to you, that's patriarchal oppression, isn't it, Amy?
Mm-hmm.
Ugh. All right, let's keep going.
All right.
How much?
Okay, it was just like a sex comic.
Give me some light at the end of the freaking tunnel here, because this is really. It's hard to find words because all I can do is give you feelings of just despair, disgust, shame, guilt.
I mean, I think it's funny how sad it is. That's all. I don't know how else to look at it. Like, and this is the thing, is that women, maybe they just see this as like entertainment and nothing else. But I have my doubts. You know, this is like. There isn't going to be a lot of academic rigor in this podcast. It's like it's going to be this.
Yeah, I almost prefer the feminists who attempt academic rigor to this. But it's almost like if women stopped saying they're so much better than men, they could actually start pursuing skills and abilities and contribute something other than that, like victimhood to the world. Like, and honestly, this is something that I see constantly with women. Like, I was going to get my hair cut, and there's this one woman who's like, oh yeah, like, I bet your father won't even notice that your hair is different. I'm like, why are you inculcating? I didn't say anything because of course, but why are you inculcating girls with this contempt towards their own fathers? Is that freaking fatherlessness behavior there? But it's just, I think the thing that really bugs me most about women is their endless contempt towards men.
Mm-hmm.
It's really grating. And it's exhausting. And I don't like watching it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, let's continue.
Okay.
But how much more is there? Really?
Well, we can stop whenever you want. I could move into, I guess there's a big peak here. And this is the most replayed, and it's about orgasms. Remember, this is for women. I just want you to know, women, they got the horny just as bad, if not worse, than men. So if we're gonna have conversations around, like, you know, like how bad, like, I don't know, porn is for men or whatever, we should probably be looking at the ladies too. But that's the most replayed. I don't remember that bit, but I did watch this. And then there's self-worth. It's a big fucking thing. Then there's something about the Cushing syndrome. I don't even know what that is. But yeah, dating life. We'll play the rest of this section and see how you feel. We could quit whenever you want, though, Allison, if it's really torturous. So
every woman is like a whore. What woman like steps out into the spotlight and is not just like You're a whore. And you're a whore.
Well,
what? Oh, because men label them as whores. That's why men label all women whores. You guys know that, Allison? I hate to break it to you.
No, the only person who's called me a whore. Well, they use the feminist term for whore, which is pick me. But yeah, that the only women have really.
Yeah, that's interesting, isn't it?
It's because the thing is that usually the insults in the manosphere are a little bit more sophisticated. Like I had, I guess a red pill guy from the subreddit tell me that the reason why I talk about these things is I want women who are like me to be seen as more attractive by men. And I was thinking about that because the thing is that they have a theory that when women talk about stuff, it's in order to make women that they are more attractive. So that, and I was like, yeah, okay. I think that you're probably right. I would like women who care about men and appreciate them and have a sense of gratitude to be more attractive to men. So
I mean, generally, I think men, I think women are more likely to call other women whores than men are. And I think that when men run into women who engage in whorish behavior, they just avoid them. Or I think we have a bigger problem with simps, if anything. The men who essentially encourage that behavior. But there's not much we can do about that except, tell them to stop simping.
Well, okay, so I will talk about something that occurred to me. When I was, I took public transit a lot when I used to live in Calgary, just like a major city in Canada. Mm-hmm. When I was on public transit once, I remember listening to this woman talking about this this other girl that she didn't like, and she was talking about how she was like a giant slut and such a whore, and the guy she was with was like, don't you think that's a little bit harsh? And that's about the only time I've ever seen anyone discuss women being sluts and whores in public. Most of the time people are just doing their thing, trying to get to their job and do their work and go home. And it was a pair of teenagers. And the funny thing was the woman or the girl was like, yeah, she's such a slut. She's such a whore. And it was the guy who was like, don't you think you're being a little bit cruel? And I just find that funny. And the other thing is that this is actually probably borne out by some of the statistics that they're seeing lately, that the majority of the people engaging in this kind of abuse are women. And the majority of their targets are women, although they're more likely to target a man than a man is a woman. So, all I can say to Schumer and the other chick is heal thyself, heal thy sisterhood, because it's shit.
Yep.
Okay.
All right.
It's just the level of hoariness. But why do you think men are so frustrated when women talk about sex?
I think
How about men are more frustrated when women?
Yeah. because I'm just gonna. I wonder if you are going to insult men sexually. Let's find out.
Yeah, let's find out. This could be maybe we'll get a plot twist here.
Afraid of women, and they're afraid. I really do. I think men are terrified of women. I think it goes back to how they feel about their moms. I think they feel.
Wow, that's that there might be some truth to that, but maybe not for the reasons that you think. I think that there are men who fear women because of the things that women can do to men and get away with and get supported for.
Yeah,
so
like what you did.
Seems to be the truest thing you've said so far. It goes back to their moms. Are you gonna hold their moms accountable? Or
of course not. No, because when a child is abused by a mother, the child is at fault.
Yeah. When the child's a boy. Well, no, actually,
or
when it's a girl too.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
Yep. Nope. If you're abused by your mother, it's your fault. Always. Doesn't even matter if she blows her brains out with a gun. That was your fault. You deserved it. Now she puts you in a cage, makes you eat your own feces. That was your fault. Huh? She rapes you. That's your fault. If you're a kid abused by your mom, grapes you. Sorry.
Oh, you already said it now, Allison.
I know.
Feel guilty about their mom. I mean, we all feel guilty about our moms.
Yeah.
And just scared at everything we've ever seen, all the old movies.
And
all the
if they're
books, all the, you know, it's
scared,
like,
isn't that them being like you've spent this entire time talking about how you feel hard done by, you feel like men aren't doing something to improve your emotional landscape, I guess, and yet now you're talking about men being scared of women. Does that mean women are responsible for easing men's fears? I don't think so.
Cat
Still
has an
trying
opinion.
to. Yeah, she has an opinion. Her opinion is that I should not be paying attention to Amy Schumer. I should be paying attention to her.
Jojo is just sleeping.
Yeah.
He's giving me the side eye now that I've said his name.
Jojo's
I've
like
invoked
dogs
him.
are a different entity. You know, when they get older, they just chill.
Yep.
She's just like she's recovering, but I think she's still feeling a little bit, you know, uncomfortable. So she wants to be soothed. Okay, let's
All right, let's finish
more.
this off. Okay.
it's all from the guy's point of view. It's all the male gaze, the slow pan up from her heel. It's just starting to get better.
Wait,
and so if I were to say
what?
to Gloria Steinem, I'm like,
Wait,
That was
what?
that was a weird thing to bring in, the male gaze. Like that is not happening here.
Men men have trouble with their relationships with their moms, when the name was like, oh, everybody does, and then she starts talking about men being afraid of women, and then now we're at the male gaze. Like, what kind of Gish Gallop bullshit is this? Like, could you make an actual coherent argument? Why are men what the hell did you just do? What the hell?
Sorry.
What the
it was a filter. Yeah, sorry.
It was like
it slipped. It was a natural reaction to have.
That looked like you were like an extra in like a spaghetti western.
No. Okay, I'm sorry that I derailed everything with that. I derailed everything.
Okay. I don't mind being derailed from this bullshit, honestly. Okay, let's find her final conclusion, because I don't.
Yeah.
Have you explained why men are frustrated when women talk about sexuality yet, Amy? I keep in all of this bullshit that you've.
Well,
put
the male gaze. I think again, this is actually kind of interesting, because I think she is trying to, like I said, she's trying to creep in some feminist talking points, because that was almost a complete like irrelevant thing to bring up. Like, oh, I think men have an issue with their mothers, and then it was like somebody buzzed her and said, no, you're giving men some sympathy right now. We need to we got to get back on track. Drop some feminist talking point. Male gaze, go for it. Toxic masculinity, right? And then Gloria Steinem again. Let's go with that.
From the guy's point of view, it's all the male gaze, the slow pan up from her heel. It's just starting to get better. And so if I were to say to Gloria Steinem, like, what the hell? She'd be like, it's so much better than it was. But what it was that not that long ago you needed, you know, your husband to get a credit card.
Yeah.
And
we couldn't vote.
And like,
see, this is what I'm saying. Like, there's a list of talking points.
And the laws in
all
which
of this,
women,
it screams inauthentic to me.
Yeah, I know this is the new stupid talking point. The laws that made men not obligated to their wives' debts weren't changed until like the mid 70s. And these laws at one point ended up with men going to jail for their wives' debts. Okay, so a law that could send a man to jail wasn't changed before the law that could make a woman get a credit card. And she's just completely removing all context from that. And the other thing is that there was plenty of female gaze in cinema in the past. I mean, look at James Dean and all of the stuff involved with, you know, there were male heartthrobs in cinema in the past, and they were presented when it was acceptable as, you know, shirtless, and when it wasn't, they would do the wife beater thing or the undershirt thing. So there was always that. There was always an appeal to women's sexuality in media. Like, this is a complete fiction. And I'm guessing where she's going with this is she's going to say men are frustrated because they're losing their panty
They're
shots.
losing their institutional power, or women are just now becoming somewhat kind of sort of equal, but not really, it probably, yeah.
Here we are.
And here we are.
And here we are.
Yeah.
Losing rights by the day.
Yay.
In your dating
losing
life,
brain cells by the day.
Losing rights by the day. You mean the right to kill the unborn? Oh, wow, what a tragedy. Maybe you want to be a little bit more careful then. I mean, you're not actually losing that, and that's not a right anyway. So, whatever.
Yeah, it's a little frustrating, but
yeah.
I mean, okay, well, welcome to being a man, ladies. Like, even if a man is raped, his obligation to take care of the child is considered strict reliability.
They wanted to send men to some foreign wars more than, like, that was what men were trying to prevent. They didn't care about anything else. So they were ready to get men killed because they wanted to be able to kill their babies too. I mean, that's what they voted for. Like, they didn't care that we were
that far. I don't think.
No, of course not, because it affects men. They're only thinking about what affects them in the moment, and even stuff that may not affect them ever in their life if they're just a little bit like responsible. So they don't even. They feel like they're losing access to something that only exists in a hypothetical, and that's still a big problem. That's how removed from reality these people are. I don't know. Crazy.
Yeah.
Crazy. All right. Do you want to do some more, or?
Yeah, sure. I'm gonna step away for a sec. I can hear you while we do.
I'm gonna play some of this. Let's do the dating life thing. Let's see what that sounds like, because it's been a bit since I listened to this. So,
did you ever feel like, because you were in the beginning so open about talking about sex, did you ever feel like guys had specific expectations of you if you were going to hook up with them because of how open you were about bedroom stuff?
That's a good question. I don't think they did. I think they could tell I was full of shit. And I remember in college, I would kind of try to talk a big game and be like really confident, like, Mae West, or maybe a more up-to-date reference. Mm-hmm. And then I would go home with them. I remember I went home with this guy one time, and he had like.
All right, I'm gonna pause it there. This is this is the kind of content that women want to see. Okay, Great Indoors gave us $10 and says, as an aside, Charlie XCX, on which HBR indirectly did a stream, has recently won a Grammy, because of course she would. Allison asked if I wanted to request a song review, maybe a Grammy show review instead, to observe the current cultural zeitgeist. Otherwise, we might do a Puta Life response without the pornographic material. Come to think of it, that might be necessary for the Grammys as well, because of Ye's wife's emperor dress. Yeah, I watched the whole Puta Life thing, and it's basically just porn on YouTube. I'm not surprised, because since it's a sex positive sex worker conference, you can show whatever you want because it's feminist. But there's straight up like pornographic images in that, and I don't think we could get away with playing the Puta Life thing. Plus, in my opinion, there isn't a lot of depth there. It's basically like sex workers have it really bad because sex workers are women, because pimps and patriarchy, also Palestine for some reason. So, I mean, I watched it. That's what it was. Like, trans people, sex work, Palestine, drugs, and here, oh, by the way, here's a porn star. Like, it just, and I feel like the women that were like watching these photos that were like talking about this stuff, they were like getting some kind of like stimulation from showing other people's nudes online. Like it creeped me the fuck out, honestly. All right, but anyway, thank you for that. NovaFan21 gives us $1 and says, Amy Schumer acts like Gloria Steinem never said it's gotten worse for women decades after her influence. What year did Gloria Steinem say it's gotten worse for women? It was like in the 2010s. I mean, like, the thing is, Gloria Steinem knows where her bread is buttered, okay? Any feminist, and I include Amy Schumer in this, who's playing dumb, or she is dumb, knows that if you don't continually say that things are not getting good for women, or they're not good enough, or we have a long way to go, or it's even worse, If you don't say that, then the paychecks stop coming in. You stop getting paid because you become less relevant. And so they have a duty to keep the money train going, right? That's all it is. This is literally a grift. Like, I know grifter gets thrown around. That's the grift, like a real grift. You know, race hustlers and feminists and other like these activist types that are, oh, we need money for this or that. That's the grift right there. And it is, a lot of it does come from, you know, like I was looking up where did Alex Cooper come from? Where did the Call Her Daddy podcast come from? Well, they signed several media deals with Spotify and SiriusXM. They got this show to basically get off the ground, got $200 million from Spotify, 60 million from Spotify and 125 million from SiriusXM. And then they sell merchandise. I mean, dude, they got their foot in the door and they just got catapulted in the stratosphere. Why? Because the Call Her Daddy podcast is saying the right things to the right audience. And it's all, and I wouldn't be surprised if all of these like feminist orgs were pouring money into this too, because as long as the narrative stays alive, those people keep getting paid. So that's my suspicion. I don't know if we'll ever learn the truth of it, but that's what I think. Allison, I can't hear you.
Peter Houston asks, will USAID shutting down stop a fair amount of the grift then? No, because a lot of this is completely independent of the government. It's NGOs. And like the feminist stuff, yeah, it's private donors and a lot of it. And so they're just going to keep going. And of course, they're in academia, so probably what will happen is we'll burn back some of the growth, and then it'll just grow back.
We did get rid of the Department of Education or cut it down a lot, but again, these are small victories. We should be happy about them, but yeah, feminism's not going away. So.
Yeah, we got to keep the pressure on for feminism, insofar as a tiny thorn like us can keep the pressure on for addressing the bullshit that is feminism. But the other thing is that we need to solve this problem. I mean, even outside of feminism itself is almost like a Band-Aid for a deeper problem. And that, because when you look at around the world, even in places that are far less feminist, they still are having an issue of the cratering birth rate. Oh, now a lot of that is importing all kinds of feminist concepts and conflict between the sexes, of course, but it also seems to be an aspect of modernity. And the only way we're going to fix this is if we're willing to acknowledge the problem and not just blame it on men. It's as simple as that. And this is a problem facing the entire species, all of us.
Yeah,
like this is our extinction event. You know, the dinosaurs had the asteroid. The mammoths had the end of the ice age. We have feminism. Well, we have this disconnect between the sexes, right? And if we don't solve it, then we're done for. Except maybe the Amish and other communities like that might continue. Like, oh shoot, my camera seems to have screwed up. Can you still hear me?
Oh yeah, I can hear you, but you're frozen.
Yeah. Let me see if restarting. I'll have to restart, but continue.
I'll play a little bit more of this.
I don't know, like pit bulls or Doberman pinch. I don't know. He had these like dogs, and he was like I think he had like an ankle bracelet on, you know, like he was on parole or something. And like we're like kissing, and like we're like in the laundry room of my dorm, and it was like it just all happened so quick, and I was like naked, and I was like, I am in way over my head. I am not this experienced sexually. I have been completely bullshitting this guy, trying to like act like I know something. And yeah, but no, nobody.
So yeah, she's a train wreck. Like she had sex with some dude that was on parole with like an ankle bracelet, and then found out she was in over her head. Claims that she was trying to bullshit this guy, but you're just trying to bullshit yourself. I don't think there's a lot of value in that.
In bullshitting yourself? Generally
well,
not.
in this general clip about her dating life, but John Doe says Schumer was dating a wrestler, said he was too dynamic in bed off the top rope. That's funny. Was it a luchador? So, okay. Should I mean, you want me to go to another time code, or do you want to like stop here? Or do you want to let them hear more of this?
Okay. Well, how many more time codes do you have, sir?
I mean, I'm done. Like, I just wanted to listen to the bit about the male-dominated industry and the class moms.
Well, of course it is. It's never going to not be. Like, seriously, even if they replace all men with women, they'll still call it male-dominated because men made it in the first place. They've already created that narrative. Like, if women take over an entire industry, but it was originally created by men, it's still patriarchal. Did you know that? So there is absolutely no way to end the patriarchy unless women actually get out and build a society from the ground up themselves. And none of them are willing to do that. And none of them actually express any interest in doing that. Every time I talk to a rad femme about smashing the patriarchy, I say, well, okay, are you going out and constructing a society from the ground up as per your own conjecture? And they're like, no, nothing. Then no feasible plan. They're like, oh, but we can't, like, we don't are able to own property. I'm like, yes, you are. Yes, you can buy property. Yes, you can learn all of these skills. These trades are not closed to you. But then they're like, but even if we do, we'll just be rebuilding the patriarchy because you're using men's ways of knowing. And like, they have no way of ending the patriarchy. Guys, newsflash. The patriarchy, quote unquote, will never end. It will always be a way for women to manipulate you in terms of your guilt. The only way to end the patriarchy is to end it in yourself and simply say, actually, it's something that my husband did a couple years ago when his sister was still around. She was upset with him for some reason and wanted him to comply with her. So she went into the whole, and we've been oppressed by patriarchy and he's like, well, you're not now. So shut up. It's just, that's the only way to get rid of patriarchy, guys, is to just stop responding to this bullshit. And it is bullshit because they talk about being so oppressed, but they have absolutely no plan to get that oppression. Most oppressed people in all of human history, least interested in developing a plan to get themselves out of that oppression. And why is that? Because the allegations of oppression are the point. The allegations of oppression give them what they want, which is which is moral authority, which is the ability to guilt and now shame men to do shit for them. That's all it is. And it's a lie that reveals itself, because if men didn't care, they wouldn't care. Huh? These feminists are like, men don't care, so you have to care. Well, which is it? Choose. I cannot fucking believe. Now, I'm going to set women aside here for a moment. I cannot fucking believe that men got taken in by this bullshit. Like, it's on its face, it is the most absurd fucking lie in human history. Right? Women are to men's face saying things like, well, you don't care. So care. Like, if you didn't care, you would care. So care. And it's like, this is just gaslighting from stem to stern. And it's the most infantile gaslighting. It's like you catch a kid with their hand in the cookie jar, and they got, like chocolate smeared all over their face, and they got a cookie jammed in their mouth, and they pull it out, and they're like, I wasn't eating the cookie was eating me. Like, why are you allowing absolute morons to rule you morally and emotionally? Like, these two women, do they strike you as being smart? Why are you listening to them?
No, hell no.
Okay. Like, if I could do anything for men, because set aside, like that red pill guy was like, oh, you just talk because you want women like you to be more attractive. And I'm like, fine. Actually, no. Men, only listen to women whose intelligence you respect.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. There you go. World will be better. That's my infinite wisdom.
All right.
Yeah, and we've been at this for an hour and a half.
Yeah, that's good.
I feel like nothing's going to get better.
No.
Nothing.
No, I mean that's like, yeah, I don't think so either. I think that's what. Well, look, if we're responding to feminist content, there really isn't that much difference from one thing to another. It's all shit. It's either solid or it's runnier or it's softer or it's got corn in it or it's got peanuts in it, whatever. It's all shit. So I might as well throw a little bit of variety in there. And I mean, yeah, so we're not there.
Yeah, no, I'm not upset with you, Brian. I know.
No, I know.
This is something that needs to be responded to because so many women love this shit. But it is also incredibly depressing. And
it tells women what they want to hear. And again, I think that this is like we're gonna learn, I think, at some point in the future that this show is funded by NGOs and maybe even the government or the CIA or something, and it's with the explicit purpose of propagandizing women to hate or fear or distrust men. That's what I think. I mean, when I learned that, I don't remember her name, but there was a very well-known like feminist debater that was going on all these different podcasts and debating feminism. And then at one point she went on a friendlier show and just basically put it out there. Yeah, I get this much money from Planned Parenthood. I get this much money from the Biden administration. I get this much money from the CIA, and these other groups. And, it was revealed as a shocking thing. And I was like, oh, yeah, that makes sense. Because that's what's been going on since the 60s. Shit like this has been going on since the 60s. So why would it change now that we have social media? This is the greatest opportunity. And women, they zombie walk right into it. And so, this is why I think this stuff should be exposed.
Yeah, I mean, I would say it's more than just, I think it's also in profound insecurity because when women are put into competition for men, they lose so hard it's not even funny. Like it's like, they're like, oh, trans women shouldn't compete with women in sports. I'm like, yeah, well, maybe women shouldn't compete with men in life. Like, and when women do, it's such a profound level of insecurity. Yeah. And it's like, that it's ridiculous. Why would women compete with men? Like, first of all, why is it a competition? If you have relevant skills, just go in and work with men. If you have the mental chops, do it. There's no competition. We're all in it together against the cold, indifferent void of space. Like, why do we have to frame any of this as competition? And furthermore, if women want to frame it as competition, they are going to lose against men, and they know they do. They know they lose against men. That's why they constantly have to buttress their identity and their ego up with this vilification and this idea that men are doing something against them, that they have an unfair advantage, because then they'd have to face the fact that the average woman doesn't compete very well against the average man. And it's more than just musculature. It's risk-taking. It's emotional regulation. It's the ability to be stable and focus on a goal. It's the ability to be utterly autistic and then do something for like 23 hours a day, take a half-hour nap, drink another freaking, I don't know, beast, whatever the energy drink, and then keep going. Again, women balk at that. And they balk at it probably for a very good reason, because if they're uncomfortable, an infant is probably dead. And it's like, if you want to compete or not, if you want to take part and you have the skills to do so, but take part with a sense of gratitude and a desire to help, not compete, is what I'm getting at. Right. And I think that ultimately this world, like I've said multiple times, women used to have their own thing. right? They used to have spinning in particular, which can be a very difficult task and requires a lot of very fine motor control and all of the domestic stuff. And they had that, and that was their thing. And they didn't have these. And the big difference is then they didn't have these emotional insecurities because they weren't perceiving themselves being competition for women. I remember Ayn Rand, I think it was, she had this really interesting interview on one of those talk shows in like the 70s. And she said something like, women aren't interested in this thing. And she's talking about a world that's gone now because they have their own thing. And it really struck me because throughout, if you actually listen to women, not feminists, but women historically, they will say, we have our own thing. We have the power of necessity. We do things that are necessary for the continuance of life and are important for the maintenance of society. And we know we do. And when that was taken away, women lost their fucking minds. And now we have this, and this isn't respectful. Like, I'm not going to say, I don't even want to, I'm not going to use the word whore. You're useless scrats. Like, all you do is destabilize people's relationships, encourage women to treat men with contempt and have suspicion for their relationships, and you don't add anything materially to the world. I mean, maybe a podcast, I guess, that is very entertaining could say that, but it still is destabilizing. I'm guessing that the women who watch these podcasts are less likely to have a good relationship, right? So in that sense, are you really providing a good service? But regardless, you don't see yourself in terms of service to others. You see yourself in terms of service to self. And that's parasitic.
Yep.
And so I'm not even going to call you a whore. I don't know. A whore offers a service at an upfront price. You offer destruction with a secret cost. Okay, let's keep going. Or are we done?
Keep going?
No. No. Oh, great. One more.
All right.
Yeah,
he knew I was full of shit too. He probably just wanted to.
Those are the worst moments where you're there and you're like, wait,
I was bluffing.
I don't actually like this. Like, I was like
it's just
trying
so much
to play the game.
easier.
I'm like,
I just want to say it'd be so much easier if we did podcasts like this, Brian. We could just sit here and be like,
I mean, it looks comfortable too. Like, I just like, right.
Yeah. I'd be sitting down instead of standing up, which is actually pretty hard after a while. But just, I mean, they basically don't even talk. Like, they don't even form coherent statements. It's just like most
popular podcast in the world. Second most popular podcast in the world, period.
Because it's about creating this kind of emotional, like this warm, tepid, fake affection. I mean, you can tell that I know from my engagement with women like this that the hostess, Chelsea,
no,
she has an itemized, this is
Alex Cooper.
Alex
Cooper.
That she has an itemized list of all of Amy's face and figure flaws, which if Amy pisses her off, she will deploy one by one like sniper bullets to Amy's sense of self. And Amy herself probably has an itemized list of all the shit that she can tear into Alex with. It's actually quite epic to see, when this kind of thing happens. And their women are very surgical. Like, they can manage to find things that you never knew you had insecurities about.
Yeah.
And it's so funny because
she did spill the tea on Kamala Harris after Kamala Harris lost or whatever. Like, basically saying, I wasn't she was, I don't know this bitch. Like, basically saying that. So,
but what I'm trying to say is that, exactly. But also, when they say things like, oh, you're a perfect 10, it's such bullshit. Because, they know they have listed everything in their mind that, and they know exactly the number you are, but they, for whatever reason, want to flate your ego. It's like, I have a relative, like, I guess a step niece, and she used to be like, she used to overtly insult people. Like she just tear into, just like she would be overt about it. But then suddenly one day she realized, oh, I can compliment people and it can be completely false. And I can laugh to myself at the fact that I've inflated their ego about something I don't actually think. And that's even more fun. Like, kids learn white lies. She learned like how to turn a white lie into a black lie. And so she would say things, she'd be complimentary, and she'd have this look on her face like, that's what this is. You're a total 10. I can't believe she believes that. But you're a total 10. Oh my God. She's flying into it. I can't believe it. That kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like you're complimenting someone, but you're doing it in a way to insult them.
Yeah,
like
sure.
Like you're enjoying the fact that they believe an obvious lie. And I don't know, maybe I'm not conveying this kind of dynamic.
Oh, I know what you're talking about. Yes, the way that women kind of insult each other by delivering a compliment that has like a underhanded insult packaged into
not even
it.
an underhanded insult. It's just the joy of inflating someone's ego knowing it's a lie.
Oh yeah, right. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's just like that this is bullshit.
Yeah,
and you're getting them to believe it.
I called it gaslighting.
Gaslighting.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there's kind of a sociopathy to it, and for some reason women eat it up, and I can't stand it. Like there's a lot of women who eat it up. I'm not going to say a lot of. All right, but anyway, so is that the last of it?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, good. All right. I'm glad you're satiated.
Yeah, I mean, there's not much.
Yeah,
that's good.
Certain value of satiation, shall we say. All right. So I guess I'll do the things. So if you want to support the show, feedthebadger.com/support. I don't know if anybody actually did support. Let me see if I can look at the it's going to be difficult for me to look at it on this computer, but yeah.
Okay.
So and so feedthebadger.com/support to support the show, because we're facing a really difficult problem and we cannot just constantly deflect and pretend it doesn't exist. But on the other hand, it does sort of take a pretty stubborn, mentally tough individual to even recognize the problem for what it is, because it's questioning something that people hold so deep. Like men want to define themselves by saving women, and women want to define themselves by being saved. And questioning that is uncomfortable. But anyway, that's what we do here, as it were. And if you want to support that, feedthebadger.com/support. If at any point throughout the show you want to send us just a tip and a message with that tip, you can go to feedthebadger.com/justthetip to do so. And I'll just hand it back to you, Brian. I won't belabor this.
All right. Well, if you guys like this video, please hit like, subscribe if you're not already subscribed, hit the bell for notifications, leave me a comment. Let me know what you guys think about what we discussed on the show today. And please, please, please share this video, because sharing is caring. Thank you guys so much for coming on today's episode of Maintaining Frame. And we will talk to you guys in the next video.
Men's rights activists are machines, dude. Okay? They are literal machines. They are talking point machines. They are impossible to fucking deal with, especially if you have like a couple dudes who have good memory on top of that too. Holy shit, you're fucked.